So we want to move on to our next thing with Doron. Where's Doron? From WebsPlanet. And he's going to come up here and talk about what they're doing. And here you go.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm actually going to be presenting a case study together with Miguel Bautista. He's going to be joining me on stage today. What I do want to... Just a quick recap on WebsPlanet, who we are, what we've been doing, what we do today. So a lot of you know us back from Website Builder. We had a website building tool that we resell to directory publishers, hosting companies. We grew through time. We had a do-it-for-me platform. We grew to a DIY platform. And at a certain point, we realized that there's additional online presence tools that you need to use. So we started doing integration to third parties. In 2016, we realized that it's not just a matter of a website builder tool or an online presence tool. It's much more than that. And we actually started developing a new platform called Cosmos. And Cosmos is something we actually launched in 2018. And DPC was one of the first customers we moved into Cosmos. So what is Cosmos? Cosmos is a commerce platform. It's integrated into third-party tools, not just our web builder. We have SEO tools, website builder, live chat, any email tools, domain, SSLs, and a lot of other third-party tools that we integrate. Actually, it's ongoing, so we keep adding more and more as we go. The tool itself connects to three different elements. We have the directory publishers, the resellers, what we call the resellers, so directory publishers, hosting companies, service providers. But that's just one part of it, because the tool itself also supports the SMEs. So you have a full control panel for SMEs themselves, which they can really manage all the applications and do a lot of different things. And there's also the app developer elements. The app developer element is where we do the integration. So there is an app builder built into the tool itself. We keep adding new and more services as we go. We are actually working with the app developers themselves to add the services by themselves into the tool. So it's a full ecosystem that integrates all those three elements into one single place. Okay, good. So talking about, talking about DPC as the case study here, we want to go through 4 different stages that we are, running through them, but just to a little bit connected into the platform itself. So the first stage for directory publisher, in most cases, was becoming fully digital, moving into the digital world. So one thing that you actually need to do is you need to have a visual portfolio, some kind of commerce platform, some kind of dashboard or control panel that you can present all the different services that you have in order to be able to provision services, manage services. So you need to have a digital portfolio of all the different services. Now, a quick point to that. We are talking about SaaS services, but in our case, we're also talking about do-it-for-me services. So it's not only online services that you need support, it's also the do-it-for-me services which are offline services, which many cases directory publishers have their own fulfillment teams, and they actually get requests and they need to manage the requests. So you're not actually giving a customer access to a website builder or any other third-party tool to manage it by themselves. One of the most aching points, one of the most hurting points is the sales support. We've had a lot of experience working with a lot of service providers. In directory publishers, or the transformation from the book into the digital era has become very hard from the sales perspective. It's very hard for sales team to actually move from selling an ad in a book into selling a digital service. So we added support into the tool to make it very simple for salespeople to present the services that you can offer them, to show them very quickly, to have a quick onboarding process where you can fill out a form, put in the business information, and eventually you show them the portfolio itself, and you can even demo certain applications and show them how that application works. So for instance, if I put in the customer information, generate a website, I have a website with that information, and boom, he shows it on the spot. So in many cases, it might be on-premise that the salespeople go to the SMEs and present it to them. In other cases, it might be online. But making it simple for salespeople to actually sell and present and talk about the digital services is very important in order to start moving into the digital world. And of course, we are mostly concentrated in this case study from do-it-for-me perspective. So when we're talking about do-it-for-me, we have to realize that we have to also support and simplify the process for fulfillment teams. So what we've taken into consideration here is that when you're selling or when you're serving multiple services, you're actually working on a lot of different vendors, a lot of different control panels. It's different services. So you have a website, you have domains, you have emails, you have a chat session, you have booking system, a lot of different SaaS applications I can think about. But think about the fulfillment teams that have to actually fulfill that. So they have to provision the domains in one area, they have to provision websites in another, and they have to do the connection. So you have to really simplify the process. So having everything in one place and being able to easily connect between them is very important. And this is something that we've put a lot of concentration into Cosmos, being able to connect between the applications by a click of a button. So you don't actually need to go get a code snippet, put it on your website, go to the domain, manage DNS and things like that. You can just click a button and really everything connects very simply. I did mention before that we are also concentrated on do-it-for-me services, being able to actually sell offline services. So what is an offline service eventually? You go in, and a lot of you maybe are familiar with Fiverr, for instance. You go in, you purchase a service. You have certain requirements that you have to fill in. So for instance, if I want a website, send me your logo, some images, content that you want to present, about the business content, opening hours, things like that. So from a work order perspective, the first part would be to gather that information. From the fulfillment perspective, you have to have an area where you can get those work orders come in and start managing them. So passing a work order from a web designer to a content manager and fulfilling it through the process. And more importantly, during this process, having some kind of communication channel with the SME itself. So you want to be able to go to the SME and say, hey, maybe you have some additional images to share, or review what we've done for you right now and let us have some comments. And the SME can reply to that and send you comments back. So it's very important during the do-it-for-me services, the work order fulfillment process, to be able to communicate with the SME itself. And another part of it is eventually you want to be able to present and show the SME how they're actually doing. So you have to track the activity from all the different applications. A lot of times what happens today is that you go into all those different applications, you pull out reports, you try to analyze the reports and put them together and then send that information into the SME itself. What we do here is we actually gather all those statistics, we gather all the KPIs, we gather all the information from the different applications automatically and present it on one single dashboard. So it's very easy for me to see how my website is doing, how many visitors I had. I can also see how many chat sessions I had, what's my SEO score, and eventually I can also see what sales I had in my e-commerce. So you can connecting all the dots in one screen, one area, even though you're working on multiple applications. And of course, we have to remember the reseller, we have to remember the fulfillment team. So we do have robust back office. Robust back office for the fulfillment team, for the for the sales team, for the marketing team. That's where you can actually manage everything you have within the platform. So from a marketing perspective, I can manage my portfolio, I can update images, I can add applications, a lot of different things I can really manage from the SaaS application perspective. In addition to that, it's reporting, very important. We want to be able to see what's the expected revenue. We want to be able to see what applications are mostly purchased, what subscriptions are done. You want to eventually find out what works best for you. So a lot of different information you can gather there, and of course manage the work orders I was mentioning, and a lot of different things. I'll be happy to expand on personal, whoever wants to know. And the last part of it is, in this specific case study, we're currently working as Do It For Me, but we have to remember that we have to be DIY ready. We are future ready in a lot of different senses. For instance, the SaaS world really grows quickly. SaaS applications are growing fast. So we might have 4 applications we work with today. We might have 7 applications tomorrow. We might have 20 afterwards. You should be able to add those applications easily. Now, when you add the application, you don't want to start changing the whole fulfillment processes. You don't want to make big changes within the company. Think about the sales process that you have to do. So in the Cosmos platform, it's relatively easy to add additional applications on the go. By adding additional applications, you're working still within the same ecosystem, but now you have some more services that you can start selling. Couple of points I do want to mention about Cosmos is that we are going for an open garden approach. So we are agnostic to what applications you want to add to the platform. And as I mentioned before, and as a lot of you know, we used to be a site builder, and that's what our concentration was. Today in Cosmos, we do have our site build integrated, but we also have mono. So big surprise, we are very agnostic to what type of applications we are adding into the platform itself. It doesn't have to be our applications, it could be any applications that our reseller would want. And as I mentioned before, adding Do It For Me services is very easy into the platform. So this is something that you would like to update relatively ongoingly and adding more and more Do It For Me services. So you might want to do a promotion during Christmas, or you might want to do, you find out that a certain service is needed more than another, then you can easily add it, remove the old one, and manage it in that perspective. As I mentioned before, being DIY ready is also important. So at any given point, if you start working from a Do It For Me perspective on platform, at any given point you want to start working DIY, it's a matter of a click of a button. Just decide exactly what you want to present to the SME itself. Some would like to have it full DIY. Some will only want to be able to present certain areas within the control panel. So like I mentioned before, it's very important to visualize the information. Having a centralized dashboard that aggregates all the information from all the applications into one single area and be able to visualize it in a very simple way to the SME itself. And what we've also added is what we call recommendation engine. So basically being able to analyze the information under that account, identifying what application are being used, what application are being used mostly, and recommend to the customer to upgrade a certain plan, to maybe even downgrade a certain plan in certain cases, just to reduce the churn. And you can also, of course, recommend a certain application that they don't currently use that you know would work within that vertical. Now, I mentioned that we gather the information, we aggregate all information from the applications into one single repository. Very important thing that we do is we also gather leads and contacts. So I mentioned a few different applications that actually produce interactions. If I have a website, you fill out a form, and that's an interaction that you get into your email box, or it's a new lead. If you have e-commerce and you have purchases, that's a new customer. If I have a live chat application, every chat session is an interaction that you want to gather and you want to see. Booking system, and it goes on and on. The hardest part today is that when you manage those multiple applications, you're gathering those leads and contacts within separate applications, and you start managing them separately. Unless you have a very sophisticated CRM that's actually integrated into all those applications, you will need to manage it separately. In Cosmos, we aggregate that automatically into the platform itself. Now, because the information is in Cosmos, it's easy for us to cross-reference. So I can automatically identify if a certain end user reached out to the SME through a contact form, through a chat session, maybe made a purchase on the e-commerce, maybe booking, and present it in a very simple timeline under that specific contact. So if I'm calling that contact, I'm just searching it in my contact list, boom, I immediately see exactly what interaction I had with them. It helps for the sales process. It shows it shows the end user I know what I'm talking about, and I have all the history. And I didn't have to actually do anything manual to get that. It happens automatically. And of course, if I do want to start selling direct as DIY, built-in billing, we have all the billing reports. We have integrations into payment gateways. So you go into a marketplace, you see the portfolio, you select an application, and you go through a purchase process and activate that application. Very simple, so it's fully DIY. Oops, 1 second. So just as a quick recap, what we talked about in Cosmos. What is Cosmos? I mentioned in the beginning it's a commerce platform, but it's not just a commerce platform. When we decided to develop the platform, we wanted something else. So we integrate different applications into one centralized platform. We connect between the applications, so it's not just every application works separately. We aggregate all the information and data from all the applications into one single repository, which helps us to obviously analyze the information. And once we analyze the information, we go through certain KPIs and we provide recommendations. So for instance, if I can identify what verticals are performing best with what applications, I can leverage that. And that information is very important in order, of course, to reduce the churn and get happy and satisfied customers. So I'd like to invite Miggy.
Hello? Oh, okay. Well, thank you, Doron. I really appreciate, having the opportunity to be here and to speak with everyone. So let's see how this works. Okay. So what's interesting is that we in WebsPlanet actually have been working together since 2012. Is that correct? So, it's really been a long partnership, that where we've been working together, learning from each other, sharing and progressing our relationship up to where it is today. And it's really that type of partner relationship, we've learned from and what we're trying to use as well in our own organization. Now, of course, when we say that an organization is partner focused, it seems pretty basic, especially to a lot of the people here, right? But I think that's really important for Yellow Page and Directories companies, such as ours. Now we're trying to go back, really just being humble and going back to the basics about being a partner-focused organization, especially I think because most Yellow Pages companies are really transitioning from a sales-focused organization. The nuance seems small, but it's very important to know the difference between being sales-focused and being partner-focused. And it's exactly what the Cosmos tool has now allowed us, has empowered the whole organization to have that same priority and focus. Now, as mentioned, so Cosmos is a great do-it-with-me or do-it-for-me tool here in the Philippines. Why is it important, though, when we say that? Why do we do it as a do-it-for-me, especially in the Philippine market? The Philippine market is a market that is super used to having stuff done for them. I think we were actually one of the first markets to have McDonald's delivery. We had McDonald's delivery early 2000s. Before anyone could imagine having McDonald's delivered to their house, the Filipinos were already demanding it. That's the type of country, that's the type of service that we expect. And it's the type of service that we also like to do and give. And again, that's what the Cosmos has allowed us to do. It's allowed us to create partner relationships and maintain these partnerships long-term. Long-term, because what we focus is, our favorite term is lifetime value. It's not about the first sale, it's not about the second sale, it's about how much this partnership will be worth over the course of a relationship as long as ours with WebsPlanet. So these are just some of the highlights what I'll talk about how we use the Cosmos platform to really enhance and empower our organization. Again, I think what Doron was saying, what's the great thing is that there's really just a single user interface that our production team looks at, a single user interface that the sales team looks at, and a same user interface as well as the partners and the SMBs look at. So everyone's aligned, everyone understands, everyone sees the same thing. So conversations are more efficient, conversations are more clear, less room for miscommunications. The historical information in the system BI as well really helps our sales people and our production people as well. Especially because, again, being a directory company that's transitioning into digital, there is a learning curve. And to have a platform that is user-friendly, a platform that is not intimidating is very important to get their buy-in and, again, to be able to make the processes more efficient. The open integration as well is really great because, again, it allows to have honest conversations with their partners and honest conversations with WebsPlanet and the vendors as well on really fixing and creating solutions that work. Again, that's what's important with being a partner-focused, solutions-based organization. We really listen to the partners and really try to understand what it is that they need, look for what that is, and then that's what we implement, and that's what we do. And again, the production and the fulfillment side, how that's very important because at the end of the day, if we don't fulfill, then the sale is non-existent. So the Cosmos as a sales and relationship tool, why it's important is because I think the best thing about Cosmos is that it's an inclusive tool. It's not a tool specifically just for the SMBs, but it's a tool also for our organization. I was saying, me in business development, my first customer actually is our sales team, is our partner relations team. If I can't sell it to them, then they're not going to sell it for me. So to have a tool, again, that's very inclusive, that's very user-friendly, it's easy to get their buy-in. And then for them to be able to use it freely now, to use it freely on their own, unlike before where it was the production team who would do their own work versus the sales team would just have to sell it through, they just have manuals to be able to understand it better. Now, because the tool is something that is easy to use, they can freely use it as a sales tool when they have face-to-face presentations, and now they can have intelligent conversations with the production team, with me about real feedback that we can do to improve the products and the services. Cosmos also and how it enhances our fulfillment. The nice thing about it, what Doron was saying, is that now it's one-click integration with different applications into the website, into different things, all the applications in one. Reduced our lead time from around 5 days before to now to 1 to 2 days. And at the end of the day, fulfillment is really what's crucial to a sale, to reduce the drop-off. Especially because you have to maintain that excitement, you have to maintain the commitment that you've made to the partner when they made that initial first close. To follow through and fulfillment and to be done in a timely manner. That's essentially what we're allowed to do right now. The monitoring and the dashboard as well is important because now it empowers our production team to also monitor well. Unlike before where it was really the marketing team who had to really focus on all the monitoring and making sure things were done in a timely manner. Now we can collaborate well with the production team to be able to make sure that things are done on time, revenue targets are being met, and we're able to really serve at the best possible way. And second to the last is really, again, the open integration, the being platform agnostic, really nice because it allows us to have good conversations with the partners, honest conversations with them, that allows our team to really learn more from these types of conversations. It allows us then to also be open and learn as an organization because we get to talk to other vendors that are SaaS providers or MarTech providers that we didn't even know existed. And now being open to us and being able to learn from those types of solutions. And I think that's basically what is really great because how it empowers our organization is, again, it just goes back to that. Just having those productive conversations, creating these productive connections, how DPC, what we're trying to do, and shifting the view of us as being a yellow page or a directory company, basically. That we want people to talk to us about digital problems, Because, again, people talk to us about being a yellow page provider, being a directory provider, but now, because we can have these intelligent conversations, because we've enhanced and empowered our organization from our production team to our partner relations team to our sales team, now that we have these conversations, then hopefully the SMBs always look to us as those thought leaders, especially in the Philippines because there really is a huge opportunity to be that go-to right now because, again, we're at that point where we're just making that shift. So being able to have, again, a platform that empowers us to have these conversations is really one of the great things and one of the big opportunities that we're being able to capitalize on right now. So thank you. So I think I'll turn you over back to Doron.
Thank you. I think we're a little over.
Not too bad, but if you want, we can, if there's a question, we can take a question, otherwise. I do have a quick question, which is, you know, probably what I would ask anyone who has a multi-product platform like you have. Do you have any sense of what the actual engagement per customer, or how many tools they actually use on a, do you have a sense of that? I mean, for example, Zoho has 40 tools in its suite, and I think the average usage is like 4 applications.
Well, yeah. The idea is from an SMB perspective, that they use about in average, about 4 different applications. But actually what happens is that today they use applications from different areas, from different marketplaces. So they don't necessarily buy all the applications from one place. Because at the end of the day, if I get a better price buying it from directly from the vendor itself, that's where I'm going to get it. So we see it around, we see it around 4 applications per SME.
And how many are in your whole Cosmos?
Today we have, we're integrated into, I think it's 9 different applications, but we are in the process of adding a couple more right now, and we keep adding more and more.
Okay, so 4 out of 9 is pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, okay. Last chance? All right, so in your interest of time, we're going to move on to Neil's right over here, my friend Neil Polachek. Thank you very much. Please join us in thanking Doron.
Thank you.
And